It started like any other Friday night, a young couple out for dinner, smiling, laughing, posting pictures together. But behind those smiles hid a storm about to break. 48 hours later she would be gone, and he would be desperately trying to erase every trace of what happened. This is the chilling story of how one man's lies unraveled faster than his plan to hide the truth. Samantha Rivers was 24, a bright, ambitious university student with dreams of becoming a journalist. Her boyfriend, Daniel Cole, seemed perfect, charming, calm, and always there for her. To everyone around them, they were the definition of a happy couple. But behind closed doors, things weren't perfect. Friends noticed Samantha growing distant, sometimes anxious after talking to Daniel. She brushed it off. "He's just protective," she'd say. On the night of May 12th, Samantha and Daniel attended a small party. Witnesses recall them arguing quietly near the kitchen before leaving together. That was the last time anyone saw Samantha alive. For the next 2 days, Daniel acted normal, posting on social media, texting Samantha's friends, pretending to be her, even calling her workplace to say she was sick. But soon, his carefully crafted story began to crack. Samantha's parents couldn't reach her, and when police checked her apartment, they found her phone still charging on the table. Meanwhile, CCTV footage revealed Daniel returning home alone that night, his clothes changed, his car freshly cleaned. Confronted with the evidence, Daniel's calm facade finally broke. Investigators discovered he had tried to stage her disappearance, driving miles to dispose of evidence before returning home as if nothing had happened. It took detectives just 48 hours to piece together his lies and expose the horrifying truth he thought he could bury. From the outside, Samantha and Daniel seemed like the perfect couple always together, smiling in photos, and sharing affectionate posts that painted a picture of harmony. Friends often described them as inseparable, the kind of pair that made others believe in lasting love. But behind those filtered images and public displays was a quiet, unsettling reality that only a few close to Samantha began to notice. She had grown distant, her laughter forced, her eyes tired. Sometimes she would cancel plans at the last minute or go silent for days, saying Daniel just needed space or that they had a small misunderstanding. In reality, their relationship had begun to shift from romantic to controlling. Daniel's charm had a darker edge. His constant check-ins became interrogations. His concern turned into He wanted to know where Samantha was, who she talked to, and when she'd be home. It wasn't sudden, it was gradual, almost invisible to outsiders, which made it all the more dangerous. Friends tried to ask her if something was wrong, but Samantha often defended him. She didn't want to believe that someone she loved could turn manipulative. It's a pattern seen in many real-life relationships where emotional control builds quietly before tragedy strikes. The most chilling part of such stories isn't just the loss, it's how easily love can hide fear when the world only sees smiles. The illusion of happiness was Daniel's greatest disguise. He knew how to act, how to charm, and how to keep his image clean. For Samantha, it was a slow erosion of trust, buried under affection that felt genuine but was rooted in control. And by the time she began to see the truth, it was already too late to escape what was coming next. The night of May 12th was supposed to be ordinary, a casual party with mutual friends, laughter, and music filling the air. Samantha arrived looking radiant, but something about her demeanor seemed heavy. She stayed close to Daniel's side, responding to others with polite smiles but rarely laughing. Those who were there would later remember the tension that lingered between them, a quiet unease that didn't fit the festive mood. As the evening went on, they drifted toward the kitchen, where an argument began soft at first, then tense. Witnesses said they could hear her whisper sharply, "We'll talk about it later," before Daniel grabbed his keys and insisted they leave. That was the last moment Samantha was seen alive. The sight of them walking out together under the dim streetlights seemed unremarkable at the time. No one could have known it was the beginning of a nightmare. What happened afterward became a void of unanswered questions. Calls went unanswered, messages were ignored, and Samantha's social media went silent. Friends assumed she needed space after the argument, unaware that every minute counted. It's a terrifying truth of real-life cases. Disappearances often begin with something that looks ordinary. The calmness before the chaos is what makes it so haunting. For investigators later, that party became the critical turning point, a timeline anchored in the last moments Samantha was seen alive, and the first cracks in Daniel's story. The argument that seemed trivial that night was, in truth, the spark that ignited the tragedy. In the hours following Samantha's disappearance, Daniel played the role of a worried boyfriend flawlessly. He sent texts from her phone, replying to friends with casual phrases like "I'm fine, just need rest," to make it seem she was alive and well. He even called her workplace, pretending to be her, explaining she'd taken sick leave for a few days. On social media, he posted old photos of them with heart emojis, trying to reinforce the illusion that nothing was wrong. It was a meticulously planned performance, and for a short while, it worked. People believed Samantha was simply lying low, but beneath the surface of his calm, Daniel was racing against time, deleting messages, cleaning his car, and crafting a digital trail that would buy him just enough distance from suspicion. He thought he could control the narrative the same way he had tried to control Samantha. This level of deception mirrors real-life cases where perpetrators maintain a chilling composure after their crimes. They count on others' emotions, on love, trust, and disbelief to delay the truth. For Daniel, it was a 48-hour act of manipulation, a desperate attempt to hold together a crumbling illusion. Yet even as he sent messages pretending to be Samantha, something about his tone felt off. Friends described the texts as too formal and unlike her. The tiny inconsistencies that he overlooked would later become the breadcrumbs investigators needed to uncover the truth. His cover-up wasn't just heartless, it was doomed to fail from the start. When police began investigating, they quickly noticed that something didn't add up. Samantha's phone was found, still plugged in at her apartment, her wallet untouched, and her favorite necklace lying on the table. These were signs she never intended to leave, but the most incriminating clue came from a nearby surveillance camera footage, showing Daniel returning home alone that night. His clothes were different, his expression tense, and his car appeared freshly washed. Detectives knew they were dealing with a cover-up. They retraced Daniel's movements, analyzing toll booth cameras, credit card receipts, and phone tower signals. Slowly, the facade began to crumble. Every attempt he made to clean up only drew more attention. The more he tried to hide, the clearer his guilt became. This phase of the investigation was a masterclass in patience and detail. The investigators didn't rely on confession, they relied on facts, on patterns that couldn't lie. When confronted, Daniel tried to act confused, insisting Samantha had just needed a break, but the evidence told a different story. One built from silence, surveillance, and contradictions. Real crime stories often hinge on small details, a timestamp, a receipt, a footprint. In Daniel's case, it was all of them combined. He underestimated the precision of modern investigation, believing charm could outsmart logic. But truth, no matter how delayed, has a way of surfacing. As the 48 hours ticked by, Daniel's lies began collapsing under their own weight. The police had cornered him with evidence, and the once-gone boyfriend turned restless and defensive. Every question seemed to push him closer to confession. The mask he had worn so confidently began to slip, revealing fear and guilt beneath the surface. It didn't take long for investigators to piece together the full timeline, how he had tried to fake messages, clean his tracks, and mislead friends. His carefully constructed story fell apart with every new fact uncovered. Within 2 days, what he thought was a flawless cover-up became undeniable proof of his deception. For Samantha's family, the revelation was both heartbreaking and relieving. They finally knew the truth, even if it came at the cost of unimaginable pain. For the public, it was a sobering reminder of how quickly trust can be twisted into tragedy. In the end, Daniel's 48-hour cover-up achieved nothing but prolonging the inevitable. His attempt to erase the truth only made it clearer. Samantha's story stands as a haunting echo of many real-life tragedies where love turns dark, lies collapse, and justice, though delayed, finally speaks. In the end, Daniel's cover-up crumbled under the weight of his own deception. Samantha's story is a haunting reminder. Sometimes, the most dangerous people are the ones who seem safest. If you or someone you know is in an unsafe relationship, help is available. Resources and support lines are listed in the description below. Thank you for watching, and please, stay safe.